Hello everyone, I'm Bob Niels, and welcome to Database Design Practical Example Part 1. In this particular video, we're going to finally try what we've been talking about all the way through. Though we've had some little examples and for instances and for examples here and there throughout the previous videos, I kind of want to walk through it step by step practically and make it and show you how it all comes together. I call this part one because we're going to keep building upon this week by week and as we continue on in our development of a database. For this particular video, though, we're going to talk about these 5 steps. Step 1 being define the purpose and the mission statement. Step 2, gather requirements. Step 3, determine the initial entity list. Step 4, finalize the entity list. And step 5, determine relationships of entities. For this particular video and for your assignments that you're going to be doing for this week, we're going to kind of flip a couple of these around. We're not going to have the opportunity to go out and collect requirements or really ask a lot of questions of the requirements at this point in time. Later in the course, you will have that opportunity, and based upon how the course is taken, online or live. But we'll do our best to give you a real life example that will allow you to collect the requirements and to be able to ask questions and make sure they are complete. Initially, though, what we're going to do is give you the requirements for your assignments to help you practice this database design, and at least the initial steps of the database design. So with that, as you'll see as we move forward, we're going to really look at the requirements first and then define the purpose and then go into the initial entity list. I hope you understand this is not real life. Real life, nobody will ever just hand you requirements. You need to go collect them. But for sake of example and for sake of helping you get started with all of this, we're going to kind of flip it a little bit, and hopefully that makes sense. And I'm not confusing you based upon this little flip. Okay, with that said, we looked at the requirements. So here's the requirements. Let's just assume we gathered these, okay? And you wrote all these down. So with that said, you wrote this down. You wrote down DBDS College wants an application that allows students to register for courses and as many courses that they want to take. Each class that the scholar has access to should have the instructor's name on it. Students should easily have access to the courses they are taking. And in addition, this teacher should be able to obtain a list of all the courses he or she is teaching. That's our requirements. And again, very similar to some of the things you're going to see in your assignments. Don't overthink it. Don't stress about it. Don't think we're trying to leave things out. Right now, we're just trying to get you to go through the steps that we have taught so far. However, based upon that, if you don't understand something from the requirements, make sure you ask your teacher and see if they can give you some clarity on what is actually being asked. Don't worry about doing so. Based on those requirements, or at least, and so again, we're flipping this a little bit. We'll go ahead and do our purpose and mission statement. Once again, a mission statement is one statement, 1 or 2 sentences that really define what it is we're going to be doing. That provides a little bit of boundary to what we're going to be doing. And so we don't have something that's, we don't lose focus later on during our design. The mission statement I came up with here is develop a database for DBDS College where all students, their courses, and the courses instructors are able to be stored and retrieved. That's it. Pretty clear. It's kind of focused based upon what it is we're asking for this database to do. Kind of no more, no less. It doesn't go into rooms. It doesn't go into books or anything like that. It just basically focuses on these 3 things. Okay? Our next step then is to define our initial entity list. Remember what we said about this. Our initial entity list should be one that we're brainstorming, looking at our notes, listening to the recordings, and drawing out all the potential nouns, the persons, places, things, objects, so on, and then bringing those out and just jotting those down. At this point in time, I don't want you thinking about them too much. Write everything down, and then we will go through and pare them down based upon a couple of rules. So I took the first paragraph of the requirements and I placed it here again. As you look at this, DBDS College once again wants an application that allows students to register for courses and as many courses as they want to take. Each class that the scholar has access to should have the instructor's name on it. Okay? So what are the nouns here? Well, there's DBDS College, there's students, there's courses, there's class, there's scholar, and there's instructor. Excuse me. There's also application up there. That really has nothing to do with the requirements. This is basically something they want. We are developing an application, so I wouldn't really add that one. All right. So if somebody looked at that and said, well, application's a noun, yeah, that's what we're developing. So I don't know what's part of the overall requirements of what we're doing. But this is the list so far that I actually came up with. Okay. If we continue on, for the next two sentences, students should easily have access to the courses they are taking. In addition, the teacher should be able to obtain a list of all the courses he or she is teaching. I don't need to duplicate any more onto our list, so I don't need to repeat students again or courses, but a couple of new nouns pop out. One is teacher and one is list. So I'll go ahead and add those to my overall initial entity list. And with that said, here is my final list, my final initial entity list. DBDS College, students, courses, class, scholar, instructor, list, and teacher. Okay? Our next step then is to pare this down based upon a couple rules. All right? And the first rule is, remove duplication. Nouns that really mean the same thing that may have come up in conversation. For sake of example, I probably over-exaggerated in these particular requirements, but it says look at them. Courses in a class. Are those supposed to be the same thing? Are they the same thing in regards to my requirements? In some cases, you may have to ask the customer to make sure that they are. And if they're not, then they maybe both need to be there. They both have a different definition for them. But if they are the exact same thing, we just use them interchangeably in our conversation, pick the one that's more relevant to what you were actually doing. For instance, in this case, we have a course catalog. We don't have a class catalog. We have a course catalog. So with that said, I would go ahead and eliminate the word class. Scholar and students. We kind of refer to everybody here as students versus scholars. And so with that said, every college might be different, and based upon that, maybe you keep the word scholar. But in our case, we'll keep the word student. Those mean the same thing. Instructor and teacher. Are those the same thing? If they are, which one should we be using? Again, your customer might help you with that, or you just might see that teacher popped up one time in the overall conversation, but instructor was used multiple times. So with that said, you would pick instructor. Again, these are good conversations to have with your customer or your user, if you would, to determine that you understand what it is they're saying. All right. So going to this final entity list, again, identify and eliminate duplicates. So we're kind of doing that. So we have scholar, we're going to eliminate teacher, we're going to eliminate in class. I also eliminated DBDS College. DBDS College, though an entity, it's really the purpose of the entire database. If you go back and look at our mission statement, we're doing this for DBDS College. So thus, I don't see that as an entity. And if you recall, going back to our steps going through database design, our entities are going to end up being tables in our database. So thus, we wouldn't have a table for DBDS College. It would be the database for DBDS College. So kind of a one-off there, but I hope you understand what we're doing. Interesting enough, if we were developing this application to sell to multiple colleges and we were going to host the application, maybe we would have a college table or a college entity, but our requirements might be a little bit different in stating that. So, but anyway, in this case here, not to make it too complex, which maybe that's what I just did, the database is for DBDS College. It's not really an entity that's going to have relationships. Okay? Okay. Uh, Another rule, remove all output vehicles, lists, reports, paychecks, etc. Why are we doing that? Well, in a sense, the output list is the output of the data. So if we actually think about a database, it's going to be the output of the data. We're not going to store information pertaining to output vehicles. So with that said, remove those from our list. The only one we really have is the word list, if you remember. And so I would actually remove that. So you don't store output information in a database. So with that said, when you see things or you identify in your requirements, the words like lists and reports and paychecks and this type of report, that type of report, whatever it may be, eliminate those from your entity list. Again, you're not storing information about those. Those things are going to be derived based upon the data that's already stored in the other entities. I hope that makes sense. When it's all said and done, our final entity list is students, instructors, and courses. That's what we have left. All right, now our job is to determine the relationships between each entity. All right, so you start asking questions, and you basically, once again, you ask questions based upon the requirements and what they state. And you also, based upon those requirements, then you might need to go back and ask more questions to make sure you understand what these relationships are. This is a great way of really making sure your requirements are complete. If you read it, it basically says that a student should be able to take multiple courses. So with that said, that's what we're saying here, that a relationship between students and courses is that a student can take many courses. Got it. That's one of the relationships. For courses, there are the following direct relationships with the other entities. For each course, there can be many students. That seems obvious. If a student can take many courses, obviously in each course, there's going to be many students. And for each course, it can be taught by only one instructor. All right? In Cincinnati State, as you know, we have multiple sections, but even though that section is one course, and that one course can only be taught by one instructor, is the rules for this particular database. For instructor, there can be the following direct relationship with other entities. For each instructor, they can teach many courses. Obviously, I'm teaching many courses, and so are other instructors within the college. They teach more than one course usually per semester. Okay? So once again, instructors can teach many students, but only indirectly. That's an important note here. We talked about this in the previous video, that what we're looking at is direct relationships, not indirect relationships, meaning this. A student takes a course. A student does not take an instructor, okay? Because at any point in time, based upon the course they're taking, the instructor could change. Happens all the time. And so with that said, make sure you understand that. And again, this is where practice comes into play. We want direct relationships, not indirect relationships, okay? So determine relation. So in the end, when we're all said and done here, once again, remember our relationships are either one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many. Okay, and in one-to-many can either be many-to-one, one-to-many, based upon which entity you put first and second. So if you look at this, our students has a many-to-many relationship with courses, right? For every student, they can take multiple courses, and for every course, there could be multiple students, so thus many-to-many. Courses has a many-to-one relationship with instructor. For every course, there could be only one instructor, but however, each instructor can teach many courses. How's that? Confusing? I hope not. I hope you're kind of getting in a little bit on what we're trying to accomplish here. And finally, our entity relationship diagram. I've showed you this before. And again, I welcome you to go out and look at the couple of resources that I provided in regards to how to illustrate these. But in this case, what we're looking at here is that for student and courses, and this little crow's feet, if you will, basically represents many. So students and courses, there's a many-to-many relationship. And in this case, there is a one-to-many relationship. And those two lines there mean there can only be one instructor per course. And that's how you represent that or illustrate that as you build this. What do you think? Anyway, it's kind of walking through step by step on what we're trying to accomplish here, at least through the first 5 steps of designing a database. With that said, I welcome you to utilize this video and utilize the PowerPoint presentation attached to the video and have that by your side as you kind of walk through your assignments and you take a crack at them. Do the best you can. Don't worry about perfection. This is all new to you. Hopefully, you know, as we progress through the curriculum, or the course, I should say, you'll get better and better and better. Matter of fact, I promise you, you will. Just keep trying and asking questions. Good luck.